Inshallah. Okay. All right. So, Sevim already talked about what Khalifa Conversations is. And I want to share a few verses from Quran about halal and tayyib because that's what we're going to be talking about today. One of them, Surah Baqarah, O mankind, eat from whatever is on earth that is lawful and good, and do not follow the steps of Shaitan. Indeed, he is to you a clear enemy. Another one, and eat of what Allah has provided for you, which is lawful and good, and fear Allah in whom you are believers. Another one, then eat of what Allah has provided for you, which is lawful and good, and fear Allah in whom you are believers. All of these say to eat what Allah has provided, and then fear Allah and be grateful, but don't follow in the footsteps of Shaitan. And this clearly links, to me, this clearly links our consumption habits with our worship. So joining us today in our conversation is Sister April, Sakinah, and Brother Omari of Fitrah Farms, which provides halal, pasture-raised, non-GMO, soy-free poultry to the DMV area. They have been living, they have been living and teaching overseas for a decade before they returned back to the U.S. and moved to Northern Virginia in the DMV area. They decided that their true calling was to embrace a self-sustaining lifestyle. So this family of 11 left the hustle and bustle of Northern Virginia, sold everything, bought an RV, and moved to Central Virginia. They bought rural land and decided to raise their children while developing a family-run homestead and pursue farming using pastures and farmland to serve their community, mashallah. So, Sister Sakinah and Brother Omar, I'm so excited for you to share your story. So we can start this conversation with this question. How much chicken does a chicken farmer eat?
Well, now that
Can you hear us? Okay.
We can hear you.
Is it coming in? It's fine? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, now that we've become chicken farmers, we don't eat chicken as much, maybe once every 2 weeks. We do see that it takes a lot in raising chickens, and to just, we consume chicken a lot less now that we have hundreds of chickens. Yeah, it's better for, I think, everyone if chicken isn't consumed as much as so much meat isn't consumed. So.
Okay. So we want this to be a conversation. So if you have questions, like Sister Sevim said, you can text them directly to her, or you can raise your hand, use the raise your hand feature in Zoom. So I can ask the next question. Why is pasture-raised chicken even important?
Well, it's how chickens are naturally born. It's what they naturally born to eat. Animals are meant to be eating grass, bugs, worms, and when you put them in chicken houses and confine them, and they're eating grains and their own, it's just unnatural. Animals are meant to be outdoors in the sun, eating pasture. And you could taste the difference. The animal is healthier, and we're healthier because we are what we eats. So it doesn't make sense that we don't allow the animals that we're consuming to do what's natural for them, which is to eat grass. But I think the issue of why you see so many animals not eating this is because you have to have the space. And commercial businesses, they keep all the animals together, and they're not providing that pasture for them to be able to roam and eat, grass. So it's just a lot healthier. It's just all around. You could see inside the chicken is different. You can look at the liver. You can actually see the difference inside of a pasture-raised chicken, a grass-fed cow versus any other alternative. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Brother Omari, you want to say something?
Not yet.
Okay, that's cool. So you have something on your website and it says Beyond Organic. Can you explain that?
By saying Beyond Organic, it is not just about what the animal consumes. It's how it's treated from the time it is born to the day it takes its last breath. It's a whole, it encompasses a whole organic practice lifestyle, whether it's dealing with the soil. It's all of it, and the word organic has lost its true meaning. And this is what we mean. We mean like, okay, it's not that we have this unhealthy chicken that's just eating this food that's labeled organic, but everything about it, it's caged up. It's treated inhumanely. So we want to go a little bit beyond that. We want to have higher standards for what we eat and what the community eats. And I think we will see the difference in our health and the way we feel and our spirituality of being able to take in tayyib food. So, yeah, yes, this is what we mean.
Okay. So, for example, so what are some of the other practices that we would see on your farm as opposed to, like the farms that process large amounts of chicken or meat, period?
You will see free-range chickens, free-range goats, free-range ducks. Everything is free-ranged. Chicken tractors they're being moved every day for the chicken seagrass. We believe I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
We believe in everything is used. So we really are big on composting. Everything. So there's nothing that goes to waste. And you don't see that. The soil that our vegetables, it's all like a cycle, the animals eat the things that come from the garden, and then the offal, the organs of the animals, when it's time to dispatch them, they go into the compost, which creates the soil for our garden. So it's like literally like a circle that it all comes back. So this is I think really important that it's more of a natural, it's an easier way of farming too. It's not as controlled, and you just let the animals be animals. You let you let things grow the way they're supposed to grow with natural fertilizers, whether you're doing companion gardening. You don't need the pesticides or the insecticides. So this is what, and then on our farm, you'll see a big difference because all of our kids work. We put them all to work. So we just believe in we all are in it. You know what your food is from the beginning to the end. So.
And they get a salary. It's not just child labor. So
they get a salary for real?
Yeah. Yes. So they actually get money. It's not free labor.
What's the age range of your children?
I can speak to that. 17 to 3.
17 to 3. So the 3-year-old has a job too?
Yes, she does.
She does. Her job is to be cute.
And she gets paid for that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. She's out there pulling the weeds.
Hugs and kisses. That's her salary.
She pulls the weeds.
Oh, that's so cute.
We're dispatching the chickens. They help catch the chickens. We have them all working. Yes.
Alhamdulillah. And again, all our guests here, I'm so glad to have you on this chat. And it is a chat. So if you would like to ask a question, please put it in the chat box. You can send it directly to Seven, or you could raise your hand, use the raise your hand feature, so you could talk. So you could talk to Sister Sakinah and Brother Omari, inshallah. So please feel free to chat. We had a nice chat. And so I don't want to bring that up yet. Okay.
I actually have a couple questions, but they're really good ones if you guys are ready for them.
Please, go ahead.
These are the kind of questions I would have expected at the end, but they're coming first thing. One person asked, how does someone become a chicken or any kind of farmer, chicken farmer or any kind of farmer, and how can they prepare themselves?
I can answer that. So I think first of all, you have to go into it trying to figure out what your goals are. I mean, I think we initially got into it because it was more so about self-sustainability and out of a need to really start living off the land, and also child rearing, youth development, which maybe we can talk about, which is an area that I'm very passionate about. But for us, it was having a goal of serving the community, and then from there realizing that we just need to do XYZ. And so XYZ, just in a nutshell, is one or two, you can either rent land or you can use your own land. Number two, just being able to work with either a hatchery or some type of organization that or company that can give you the actual chickens. And then you just have to understand that there's some basic equipment you need. And so having as small as a quarter of an acre, I mean, we have 22 acres, but all of our chickens don't get raised on that much land. But a quarter of an acre is more than enough to be able to get into it. And I would say start small as any venture. And if you're trying to get into it to sell to the community, it's a lot different than if you're trying to just have eggs and have some meat birds. But yeah, I mean, I think it's not difficult at all. I mean, we attended some conferences and workshops with a lot of experts. So if anybody's trying to get into it, please Google Joel Salatin. So this is, and we happen to live in Central Virginia, so we're 15 minutes away from this.
Rashida.
And he's nationally known. Actually, he's internationally known. So we happen to have a tremendous resource. On my website, there's a picture with me in it. So he's kind of our chicken mentor. So I recommend getting his books, watching his videos, just to kind of get an idea of the nuts and bolts of chicken farming. Did you want to?
What video? He was in a really important documentary. What was that?
Yeah.
Do you remember the name of that?
It's probably by Michael Pollan.
Omnivores. What is it called?
He wrote the book, Omnivore's Dilemma.
Omnivore's Dilemma, right. So the book was, I think he may have had, and it was also some documentaries as well, maybe that. Yeah, but he's written several books on chicken farming and how to just get into it. And
he has a very different, he's different than the rest of the chicken farmers. He's very strong and believe in pasture poultry, which is, he's the pioneer of it. So
what's his name again? Someone in the comments is asking his name. Joel.
Joel Joel, last name Salatin, Salatin. Okay. And I'll tell you something about Joel Salatin, which kind of had me wanting to mentor with him and visit his farm more often, because when I was working in Charlottesville, I was only 45 minutes from him. So it was he was a lot more accessible. But when we attended a workshop, he begins talking about how it's better to slaughter your chicken in a halal way. Now, we're the only Muslims in the audience, and it's about 200 people here, and we're looking around, and we know Joe's not Muslim, and did he just say halal? And he did. And so he begins to talk about it, but he doesn't talk about this because he starts off saying, and then you say something, you bless it in God's name, and then you slaughter it in this way.
Has to drain.
Yeah, he begins to go over the process of and the benefit of eating halal meat and how it is a lot more beneficial to you health-wise, and he sells this to restaurants and different places. So yeah, I mean, I found that very interesting because he only believes in slaughtering it in the halal way, minus the barakah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So minus that, and but he's a great guy, and we've learned a lot from him, and we hopefully will continue learning from him, inshallah.
So, Shervin, I know you have some more questions, but I just want to let them know that in the comments, people are trying to figure out, can you deliver to Howard County? What's the minimum order? We want to know now. So if they want to contact you, they should go to fitrahfarms.com, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it Maryland on lockdown? Can we even come to Maryland right now?
I think right now, because the COVID-19, there's something where we're not supposed to be going into Maryland to deliver. But we do have people that are in Maryland that come to our location in McLean. Am I saying it correctly? McLean. That's really close to Maryland. It's right there on the border where we're still able to follow the rules of not going into Maryland. So yes, and we'll be delivering there on the 20th. 20th, inshallah. On our website, there's a schedule. So and the Maryland people come to that location, inshallah.
Okay. All right.
I'm sorry, may I ask where were you going to be delivering? Was it McLean Islamic Center specifically, or another place? Okay, it is MIC, and the date again was?
It's the 20th.
May 20th.
May 20th. So they'll be delivering at MIC on May 20th, everyone. So how exciting.
You want to do the next question, Seven?
Well, as you're probably seeing, there are more questions about farming, pertaining to farming in particular, but I don't want this one. I'm going to scroll back up. Somebody actually asked that you speak a little bit about home birthing, if you don't mind. About the whole experience and any advice that you might have.
Matter of fact, I just delivered a friend's baby last night. She did an unassisted home birth. So I'm very much into a woman feeling like she can do this without the need to have to go somewhere else. If she's comfortable. It's all about being comfortable and feeling that you can do this. Not everyone is up to, I guess, having home births if you do have some medical issues. But our first 5 children were born in a hospital. We were in Kuwait, and we couldn't have home births in the next 4. And my husband delivered them. So he was you could say, I went the unassisted home birth route, where I just wanted the comfort of being at home and nobody telling me. And it was mainly because I think baby number 6, the midwife couldn't make it to me in time. And the births were fast, and then it became where, oh, okay, we could do this. So that's how home birthing entered our lives. So was there any specific question that they had about?
Well, one other came up. You're not a midwife or a doula yourself, are you?
No, I have been a doula for about 8 friends. I have been a doula, but I'm not a midwife. And the friends I've been there for, they've always had a midwife with them. But there was a particular friend that was deciding to have an unassisted home birth. And, I'm going to be like, okay, let me at least be there to help you with it. But no, I suggest that until a woman feels comfortable, she should definitely have a midwife that agrees with her philosophies and is supportive of her. But I also believe that woman has a right to, if she doesn't want that, then she should go for it.
Mm-hmm. So speaking on children, what does a typical day look like for you on your farm, including the children?
Okay.
Including the homeschooling and all that other stuff you have to do.
So, well, right now, obviously it's a little different because of having to wake up about 30 minutes before Ramadan, before Fajr, and have suhoor. So I think the boys, so they all have different roles that they play within the homesteading. And one of the things they my third son does is at 7 o'clock, he goes outside and he moves the chicken tractors. That is his role. Let me see.
Are you guys still there?
Yeah, your video went out, but we can still hear you.
Oh, okay. Somebody's trying to call us, I think.
Oh.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, there it is. So each one of them kind of do something differently, but the one son that kind of raises the chickens, he goes outside. He does the chicks. He also feeds the goats. He also feeds the heritage chickens and changes the walkers and the ducks and the turkeys. So we just got some turkeys too. And then we have some of our other sons. They play more of a role with the like my daughter. Layla feeds the turkeys.
Yeah, she's the turkey.
Layla takes care of the turkeys. So my one daughter takes. So in a nutshell, they all have different roles that they play.
We have a son that likes to build, so he's building the garden boxes.
He's very crafty with his hands, so he'll build stuff. On a regular basis, though, I think like what homeschooling looks like is, right now them trying to be in front of a computer right now. We just got Calvert again.
Yeah.
So we had Calvert like some years ago. So we kind of got Calvert again. Calvert is a homeschooling program. I think it got a lot of notoriety after, Obama went through it in his younger years and stuff. But even when we were overseas, we had Calvert and so I think with math, because I'm a math teacher, we use different platforms, like Khan Academy or I'm really big on Singapore math and just use workbooks and things like that. And then,
but they're very independent.
Yeah, they're very independent though. Like we're not subscribe.
Sit around a table.
Yeah, by the time they're in sixth grade, sixth grade, they're self-learners. That's the whole plan, to get them where they can go and figure out. They have some questions, of course they come and ask us, but it's also to get them to be at the level that they feel comfortable with, where we have some kids that are above their grade level, and then we have some that are working a little bit more towards what their goals are. So but it's all about, with having 9 children, they have to be self-learners. It has to just work
I think that's where we're really trying to develop more is really teaching them learning how to learn. Okay, metacognition, I guess you can also say, where like they understand like, okay, this is how I learn, this is what I need to do, so that they have the tools and the skills to be successful, as opposed to me kind of doing what I'm doing with my students right now. Some of them like really need to really be guided because they're not independent learners. And so I think when my oldest, he's kind of been a lot more involved with like how mommy and daddy does it and stuff. And we've tested out different things, over the years. But right now where we're living, I think we have a lot more outdoor activities that we do with the kids. I mean, I might work out with the kids. We might do a workout. We always obviously eat together. And I think we have family meetings. I mean, it's very corporate like.
He's a family meeting.
It's very corporate like, and we try to make it like where it's we let people speak, and we have a whiteboard sometimes. We're speaking from a whiteboard, which is right behind us, and so we try to bring some kind of structure and to just kind of make it where we have systems and routines in place. So we try to create a lot of systems and routines, just kind of make things a lot easier. My daughter will cook every night, most nights.
Yes,
so
we got them cooking early.
So my 10-year-old, she cooks.
She cooks all the meals.
She cooks all the meals. My oldest son washed the clothes. They clean the house. I mean, we don't clean anymore. I mean, when we were living overseas, we had a khadama, but we're not overseas anymore. We don't have a maid, and so that that's something they understand, is that you have to fulfill your chores. If you want to do X, you have to do chores. So we're very big on chores and just getting work done. Responsibility. I mean, I think that's and you have to be with what we're trying to do. I mean, you know,
right.
if he doesn't go outside and feed the turkeys, they're gonna die. So, you know, you have to know that every morning this is very important. And I think that's the biggest thing for us, is that our children now understand what hard work is by experiencing it. It's not theoretical, it's very practical. And so living on a farm, I mean, you know, irregardless of whatever, you know, cognitive skills that a child is going to pick up in school, the most important thing for us, and, you know, I think many parents, is the emotional quotient, EQ, right? All those skills that you can't necessarily put on a test, those soft skills, you know? And so those are the things that we really stress more than anything.
So,
okay, now I have sorry, Corey, go ahead.
I was just saying, getting back to farming and homesteading, what kind of experience did you have before you started on this adventure?
What do you mean?
It was in farming.
Yeah.
He's from Long Island, New York.
So that means none?
None.
Oh, no experience at all.
Yes, we jumped right into it. We got the RV. We were living on the land off grid. It was very difficult. There was many times I was like, why did my friends talk me out of this? What were we doing?
So I did get a job in Charlottesville in 2019, in which I was working for a fine woodworking company to kind of really know how to use my hands more, because she was, you know, miles ahead of me with like woodworking, you know, because she, you know, has built a lot of furniture, you know, especially after going to pottery, as I told you, right, going to Pottery Barn and seeing it's a bunk bed for $2,000. So she just built it. But, you know, I think being able to use my hands was not something that I grew up doing. So I worked in a fine woodworking company. And I wasn't so much like on the floor as much as I wanted to be, because I was more so in talent development. But I learned so much from like these master woodworkers and these master carpenters and these people who are extremely skilled in using their hands, because ultimately what we're trying to do is build our house. So like the poultry farming is, you know, one thing, but being able to build our home, being able to build, you know, the infrastructure that we are trying to live on. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, is to be able to be self-sufficient in a way where we can knock out 75-80% of the cost of what it costs to build the house and do it ourselves. So that's also a part of the equation.
So you're saying you built your house? That's what you're saying?
No.
We're
in the process.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, actually, yeah, that was someone's question. What's the progress of building your house?
So what we wound up doing, we decided that we were going to buy an RV, live in the RV while we were building our own house.
Wait a minute, how many of y'all were in this RV?
It was a sleep.
It was a sleep tent.
It was a sleep tent RV. We're not in the RV right now, but it was kind of like we knew we had to make
the fireplace
that jump,
in the RV.
And we had to.
Right, I know.
Yeah, right.
It was. We knew going into it that, okay, this is going to be a temporary thing, but we can do it. We can, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But we wanted not staying there because there's some rules that you can't live in an RV on your land. You could build a shack, a 10 by 10 shack, but because the RV is mobile, you can't live there. So we were very, very extremely blessed, alhamdulillah, that we wound up leaving the land for some time. It was just, you know, our dreams of the homestead. It was kind of like slowly dwindling. We left, and we mashallah found a place to rent, and the house that we're renting is directly across the street from our land. Alhamdulillah. So this was a blessing that we weren't having to live in the RV, okay, and still be able to do everything that we were intending on doing. So it was alhamdulillah. It was because I don't think he was like a deadline. Like, if we're not finished doing this by this amount of time, it was because we moved from Northern Virginia, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot different for the older kids in particular. It was a huge transition. And so like having a 16-year-old, you know, to live in 4,000 square foot house to go into a 900 square foot.
It wasn't 900.
No, it wasn't 900. Well, smaller than that. It was going to an RV. It was just like, this is temporary, and just bear with us. But I mean, I think we've been very unconventional. I mean, even moving on the land in the next 8 to 12 months, we're going to move onto the land, and we'll still, because it's going to take us, some months to really build, because we've decided to just hire out just a few contractors and do majority of the work ourselves. And there's a lot of people that we really have in our corner as well that's going to help guide us. So we are trying to move onto the land in the next 8 to 12 months in some alternative housing. Did you want to talk about that?
The yurt, we're going to build a yurt.
Oh, no, we're not building a yurt.
Yeah, yes.
We're going to put together a yurt. A company is going to give us. And many people are probably not even familiar with what a yurt is. So, like, I didn't even know until I went to Bedford, Virginia. Yeah, so again, I think we've been very unconventional in how we went about this. And I think poultry farming is just one thing that is just helping us to get to our goals. And so our ultimate goal is to be on our land, bringing people from the community to our land, doing youth development programs, doing community development programs, and having a retreat on what we're doing, and then also having them to do some type of agritouristic activity. But that agritouristic activity, it's really to help people to draw nearer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we're inviting Muslims and inviting different scholars, I mean, alhamdulillah, I've had a lot of interaction with a lot of scholars over the past 7 years that, I told them what I was doing years ago. You talked about Muhammad Mendes. This is a very good friend of mine. And so, like, we've talked about what I'm doing, and he knows that, ahlan wa sahlan. Yeah, and he's welcome to come and do programming here, and to have people to be in an environment that's going to kind of affect their ruh, their spirit, in a positive way, because environments do that to you. So, I think that was inspiring to me when I was, living in a certain community within Amman, Jordan, that just inspired me spiritually, and so
what community? Hi Kharabsha?
Hi Kharabsha. There you go.
Ah, we were there too.
Okay.
Oh, this is very.
Yes.
So
I have one of my babies over there with a 9-figured midwife.
Was it? Wait. It might be my midwife.
I don't remember her name, but she had 9 fingers. There's only one of those.
Oh, yes, that was my midwife. Oh my gosh, she's the only midwife in the high in Kharabsha.
Yes.
Mashallah.
So we want to recreate Hayat Kharabsha in Orange, Virginia.
Oh, that's good.
Alhamdulillah.
Maybe not to that extent, but yeah.
Wow. Can we talk about halal and tayyib real quick? Or can you talk about halal and tayyib real quick?
What specifically, just from a Sharia perspective?
From
in terms of how the Sharia defines it, and I think it's pretty much ijma. I think it's consensus on what that is. Allahu a'lam. I mean, from what my understanding is that halal is basically anything that is considered permissible.
That's what halal means.
For you to consume. I mean, if you're consuming something halal, it's permissible. And then I guess going a level above that is tayyib, and something that is slaughtered, in a zabiha way, and where you are invoking Allah's name and going with the conditions, the outcome of what zabiha is. I think we've kind of decided to take that one step further and say, okay, well, we know that people might want to go get the butterball chicken from Costco's, and that's halal. But okay, maybe they also are thinking about, also taking this chicken or this meat that that we're doing it, and blessing and invoking Allah's name and slaughtering it in a certain way. And so beyond that, we're also saying that, okay, on top of that, we are also doing pasture-raised poultry. And so that also, I guess, takes it up a notch, or, that's another value that we hope to give to people is pastured-raised
Zabiha. Yes,
right?
hand slaughtered.
Hand slaughtered, specifically being hand slaughtered.
We want to take
not
the
a machine. It's us, invoking Allah's name throughout the entire process. My children invoking Allah's name, and yeah.
And there's other criteria also that we've decided to do. It pretty much covers any Muslim that's that follows certain restrictions, that the blood being drained, the knife can't be seen by the chickens can't see the other chickens being killed. So we're trying to take the higher standard, so that way it's okay for everyone. Whether you take a very lax, if you take a more lax position with chicken, we want to make sure that it's going to be fine for all Muslims to eat. So, because I do believe that there's a difference between something halal, that just means it's permissible to eat, but that doesn't mean it's zabiha. And I do think that Muslims should be eating zabiha meat. So
why?
Because this is what Allah has said. It's that simple. It's that simple. And I mean, and I think there's this idea, I think of people, I don't want to say people don't know, but for something to be zabiha, it's not just about you say Bismillah before the chicken's neck is cut. It's the way it was raised from the time it was a chick. So this is the thing I feel is the element that's taken out of a lot of the markets. And you hear recordings, you go into, there's USDA processors that Muslims are getting their chicken slaughtered, but they're playing recordings, and there's someone just someone saying it, and there's a recording saying Allahu Akbar, or whatever. So it's just the standards are quite low, I feel. And
I'll just add though. I mean, I think I wouldn't necessarily put it on like any type of hierarchy of standards being high or low. But I personally would just say that we kind of follow more traditional Islamic principles, and I think from a traditional Islamic perspective, we have adopted these this ideology or this way or this practice of trying to eat meat that is hand slaughtered, and that we perhaps even have a personal relationship with the butcher, seeing him in the masjid, knowing that he's a praying Muslim, which is also one of the criteria is knowing that this is a practicing Muslim, and so I think people all have different viewpoints on how they view that, and so I think we also, just within our own education, Islamic education, have really been told and pushed with what you put into your body really has an effect on your spirituality and has an effect on you as a Muslim. And so we pay special attention to what we consume in our body, not just from a physical perspective, but also from a spiritual perspective. The person, like when you go to a restaurant, there's a halal that is perhaps within the person. Maybe the person that just cooked your meal, just had an argument with his wife, or there's something, and so that person is preparing your food, and so there's a spiritual component to when you're consuming this food that someone else is preparing. And so I think again, I think it's just a preference, I guess, and how we just have conducted ourselves as Muslim and tried to conduct ourselves. So yeah.
Wonderful.
So go ahead, Seven.
Thank you, Corey. I've got a few questions piling up here, so I should probably move on, but I wanted to note that you touched on something that has been irking me for years about the question of whether or not to buy zabiha when there are options of local free-range chickens instead. Which one is more halal, how the chicken is raised or how it's slaughtered. So to finally have options for those aspects all being brought together is such a blessing. We will have to chat. I will have to come visit and get some lessons, especially for raising kids as well as chickens from you. But inshallah, we will talk more about that later. A couple of questions that have come up for me privately. One person has asked, and they'd like for each of you to answer on your own if you don't mind, what has been your favorite unexpected lesson or blessing from this whole experience, and what has been your least favorite?
Yeah, first.
So I think just 2 days ago, yeah, like a couple of days ago, I would say the most recent blessing, because I think every day has just been a huge blessing. I guess on a daily basis, it's being able to go out and walk and have like this connection with nature and be and actually be able to just be in nature on a daily basis. I go on walks every day. My wife, she went on a walk with me this morning. So like going on walks and going on a walk in nature, I mean, has just been a huge ni'mah. But a recent blessing that just happened is that we just met a Muslim brother that has a farm that is literally 10 minutes from us, and found out about us because my wife saw him at a Tractor Supply, and so he saw our Fitrah Farms and said, "Oh, you guys are in halal, pasture, poultry, and well, by the way, I'm also into cattle." And so we, it was just a blessing because like we're not living near any Muslims right now. The nearest masjid is maybe 30 minutes away, and so that would probably be like the greatest challenge. On the other side is like, living 5 minutes from the Adams Center, because we live near the Adams Center in the Sterling Adams Center in Sterling, Virginia. That was just a blessing, and then living overseas and literally down the street, walking distance was the masjid. And so having a relationship with those that frequent the masjid and my children growing up in that was a blessing. So like, it's a little bit more challenging now. So I think this is why we're a little bit more anxious and more, overzealous to get going and invite people so that, we can have that suhbah, that companionship that I think that we had when we were living in Northern Virginia.
Yeah, definitely.
So
tell your challenge.
That is my challenge. I think.
Challenge and blessing.
Yeah. That's. What do you think?
The blessing I think I've seen is to be able to see that my children are very capable, very, very more capable than I thought. I would have never thought that I would have been able to teach them some things and they just could just do it on their own. And I always thought like, okay, 9 children, it's going to be just constant work. And, the blessing would be, when they're getting older, I get to see, but I'm seeing the fruits now. And that's just, it's a relief to see that, okay, there's things that they're understanding that this has to be done. So I'm seeing that they're actually doing it. Such a blessing. That's just helpful for me that, my kids are very capable. My daughter, who's 10 years old, is able to make the meals. Because even with them helping, it keeps my head right above water. It's just right there. So, the challenge is, I think, suffering. Just being around, sure. Not having the Muslim community as close, and it has to always, we have to make those trips, hour and a half. So that has been a challenge, especially for our children. There's a lot of our, their friends, our boys are like a year and a half apart, so they're friends, and but I know they want, because they're kids, they want that outside friendship, and so that's been the biggest challenge I feel that I've had. Yes.
So if you want to visit, you're welcome. Ahlan wa sahlan.
Yes.
Fadal.
Inshallah.
Everyone.
Inshallah.
Right now?
Inshallah.
Right now?
No, not right now.
I'm ready to get out of Northern Virginia. I could come tomorrow, actually.
Yeah, please come.
So let me get, as we run out of time, I want to get to a few more questions. Very quickly, someone had asked some time back, what is done on humane farms with male chicks?
I don't understand the question.
That's the question. I mean,
repeat it one more time.
What is done on humane farms with male chicks?
There's no, when we raise the chicks, we don't know if they're female or male, and we raise them, and they all at a certain age get dispatched, get slaughtered. So there's no. Now we do have chickens for that we have for eggs, and so we keep roosters. They keep the predators away. They protect the hens, but I don't know if there's specific question that they're trying to ask. I don't quite understand it.
Maybe we can
answer the question. I was just asking.
History of raising quails.
Traditional farms, they throw the male chicks away. So I was just curious.
No. Oh wow, didn't know that. No.
And we don't have a history of raising quails. I think that was a question.
Okay, no, we don't have a history of raising quails. We would like to soon, but we have to. Yeah. We're getting more and more animals, and we're we're having to work with the ones we have, and so inshallah. But I did not know that about why would they throw away the male. I wouldn't know why they would throw away the male chicks, because the males they actually grow bigger, and so at 6 or 8 weeks they're going to give you a bigger chicken for meat. So I don't know why they would throw away the male chickens unless it's specifically they only want hens for eggs. Mm-hmm. But then there's the benefit of the male chicken that they can raise for meat.
There was a question about like what other animals we have. So we have goats, we have turkeys, we have
ducks,
chickens.
We
want to get
bees. We were in the process of getting bees before the COVID-19 happened. There were some things that got delayed because of it.
Yeah.
But we have goats for milk. I make products. I make soap and a lot of beauty products that I use goat's milk for. So that's why we have the goats. And so.
Okay,
Hala,
let me get a couple. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Hala had her hand raised for a while. Hala, did you want to ask your question?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So first of all, I wanted to say you guys are doing an amazing job, mashallah. I would love to visit your farm sometime. And I'm into permaculture design. I have an advanced permaculture design certification, and I would love to connect sometime. And as for people who would think like, I don't know if I could ever purchase some land, it's too expensive, I don't be far away from my parents, whatever. What you could do is start your new backyard. Start urban farming is
yes
right now.
So much,
like if you're raising chickens at first in a third of an acre, like you could raise quails in the smaller land. Start small and then grow big, because you don't want to purchase some land and you end up just not working for you.
It's not necessary. You can have all the animals that we have within our homestead are all within 1 acre. Besides the chickens that we're doing for Fitrah Farms, that's different. But the chickens that we do for our homestead, we have about 30 chickens, and the goats and the garden and the ducks. That's all on 1 acre of land. I purposely wanted to see that you don't need a lot of land to grow your own food and to be self-sufficient. So definitely, it's not something that you have to go out to. When we first got our land, we actually purchased 5 acres originally first. But then we realized, like, we have a large family. There's a lot of things we want to grow and do. So we went ahead and got the additional 17 that connected with it. But you can do stuff like really this idea. I mean, when you get into bigger animals like cattle and cows, they are going to need that space to have the pasture. But like chickens, they need about 2 square feet of space, 2 square feet of space of new grass every day, not just for the rest of their life, 2 space, but that's 2 square feet. That's like the minimum what you want to do for chickens, and they have fresh pasture every day. But you're absolutely right, especially with permaculture design. you do it where it's designed where everything works together to help there's another friend.
Yeah, come down and offer a workshop.
Yes.
Right here on our land, for sure.
Inshallah, inshallah.
Inshallah.
So one question that I received privately, and I should note, Sarah isn't asking because she's dealing with the kids, but this is Ali Sherbini's wife, who is wanting to get some advice that I'm sure many of us can use. For those of us who are up in the suburbs with zero experience with farming or any of these things that you guys are experiencing firsthand, what advice would you give, especially with young children? Just getting the kids out, getting ourselves out. What do you recommend as first steps to learning about farming and anything else related?
I could tell you for us, so we lived in Herndon, Virginia for 6 years. On a regular basis, we would attend Frying Pan Park, and
Cox Farms.
Where else?
We would Polyface Farms.
Well, that's Joel.
And and just I started small. I made a homemade compost bin.
Yeah.
Was throwing our banana peels and our leaves. I think composting was the first amazing thing to me. Like, oh my gosh, this actually turns into soil. Like that was just absolutely amazing. But starting small, where starting to getting vegetables from the farmers markets and canning, or dehydrating. And that gets you your mind.
I would say also for the kids, I think because kids need to be in other companionship with other kids. So there's organizations like 4-H. There's organizations like Boy Scouts of America, Girl Scouts of America. And so they do a lot of these things outdoors. I think that's the starting point. Like growing up in Long Island, I didn't camp. I didn't do any of these things. It was not an experience that I think the first experience that I really had camping was when I joined Boy Scouts of America with my kids. And that kind of gave me some insight on all these outdoor activities. And then my kids also joined 4-H. So this is another organization. I'm assuming they have that in.
They have it everywhere.
They have it everywhere.
People don't know about.
A lot of people don't know about 4-H. So 4-H is a great organization that my kids even are a part of right now, and they offer a lot of different workshops, different clubs.
And it's free.
And it's free.
It's for the community.
Yeah.
People just don't know. Yeah.
So I think getting the kids and then just starting a garden, saying that, we're gonna start planting something like tomato, or tomatoes are pretty easy. And just getting going with just one vegetable. And
you'll get addicted. You'll love it.
Just getting started. I think that's very important. It's just getting started and
with the little plot of land you have. It could be, I know like in Herndon, they passed ordinances now where you can have up to 4 chickens. And it might not seem like a lot, but it is. It's just kids being around animals, and it just opens up something, and you start to wonder what else is out there.
Yeah.
What else can we grow? What else can we build? What else we do? So.
Yeah, it's a mindset. Them becoming producers as opposed to a consumer. And so I think anything that's making them more of a producer. I mean, this even goes down to, even as an educator, we don't really tell kids to produce anything. All they do is regurgitate. It's regurgitation. All right. It is a one-way banking system of putting information into a kid's brain, and they have to show it through an assessment, like a test, standardized test, or what have you. And so I think there's little creation going on. There's little production going on. And so I think that's a huge starting point, is getting them to be producer minded and getting them to use their hands to do that.
Creative.
To be creative. Creativity is so important. It's so important.
So it seems like you all are the ones that need to do a workshop as soon as this COVID stuff is over. Invite us all down. We'll bring tents.
Inshallah.
All right. So our time is up. It's there's like 30 plus people on this call, and people are still asking questions, and they still want to know more. They can find you at fitrahfarms.com, FITRAH farms.com.
Yes.
And also
Yes.
on social media, you're on Facebook, you're on Twitter,
yes,
you're on
definitely.
Instagram. So you need to post some more because we want to see all this stuff.
Okay.
We want to see all this stuff that you're doing every day.
That's the one thing we're working on more. We're trying to work on getting.
The challenge.
That's our challenge. So we're just starting. So we're getting more into it.
I just
Instagram.
started my Instagram account a week ago.
You need to have one of your kids be your communications director. That's what.
We are. One of them is in training right now, literally.
So, yeah.
Yes.
All right.
I have a love-hate relationship with social media.
Me too.
Precisely.
Me too.
Precisely.
Me too.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Sister Sakinah and Brother Omari from Fitrah Farms. Thank you so much for joining Khalifa Conversations. I'm so glad I found you online and that you decided to, hey, okay, I'm gonna spend an hour of my time, my valuable time, sharing, because people want to know. People want to know. Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank
you for having us.
Thank you. And I look forward to getting back in touch because everyone was very excited about this talk. We will have to talk about other programming that we can do together, inshallah.
Inshallah. Yes.
Inshallah.
All right. Sounds good.
So inshallah, you all can join us next Wednesday, inshallah, for more Khalifa Conversations with Green Muslims and Green Ramadan. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram as well. Seven, do you have anything else you want to say before we say wal asr and give salams?
I think that's it. Thank you both again so much for speaking. Everyone was very excited. I hope that we get to talk together again soon.
Alhamdulillah. Okay.
Alhamdulillah.
And just to answer one question that I saw, yes, people can hunt on my land, and if you want to come hunt, you are welcome to do so. Because yes, we are also hunters. So ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaba.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Wal asr inna al-insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihati wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Ramadan Mubarak.
Assalamu alaikum. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.